Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moletrap here, coming at you with another StarCraft commentary. We got another one for our series from the MSL Top 100. This is number 95. You got iloveoov on the left of your screen and JJu on the right of your screen. This is going to be played on Luna, is the name of the map. And before I get too much into the introduction here, just in case you didn't notice or what have you, I actually did already upload this game previously, but the audio on my commentary was messed up, and so thank you to those of you that let me know that, although I wasn't able to get it offline too quickly. But once I realized that, I took it offline so I could re-record it with full commentary, just to make sure, you know, it was what everyone's expecting, what have you. So in any case, apologies for that, but if you did see the game previously, this is a re-upload of the same game, so that's what's going on here. In any case, we got iloveoov is the Terran player down at the bottom left here. This is part of the UZOO MSL, and this is the semifinal. So this is played, I believe, in 2004 at some point. So this is during the period when Oov has, you know, basically the best TVZ at this point in time ever. He was, you know, very, very close to unstoppable in 2004 in his TVZ play. So JJu has his work cut out for him, and but if there's anyone that can, well, what do you do when you have work cut out for you? I'm sure there's a background to like where that phrase comes from that I'm not aware of. Like, is it like there's probably some manufacturing term or something like that where something gets cut out, then you have to work on, I don't know. Anyway, JJu, we'll see if JJu is up to the task of doing the work that has been cut out for him, I guess. But he is capable of it, because JJu is, in case you're not aware, one of the best Zergs of this time period as well. He never really took off, never really, you know, like won a bunch of tournaments or anything like that, but he was one of the scariest, maybe not scariest, but I'd say one of the better Zerg players of this time period. Very, very strong. When I think of scary, I think more like JJu Zerg. You know, JJu Zerg was a scary Zerg player because he was good, but he was also just aggressive and just difficult to pin down and unpredictable. And, you know, maybe JJu was unpredictable. I don't have too much of a sense of his style. I haven't watched enough of his games to really pin that down in my mind. But just as far as his accomplishments and what have you, he was, and how far he was able to get in tournaments. Here he is in the semifinals, of course. You know, he was a reckonable Zerg player for sure. Both players just doing standard stuff here. Again, if you just happen to be watching this video in the context of 2021, it was very normal for Terran players to go for 2 barracks openers versus Zerg. Almost most players didn't deviate from that. In fact, it was like not just standard, but just like almost the rule. It's kind of interesting because nowadays, you know, if people go 2 barracks, then it's like, oh, he's doing a rush. It's almost cheesy. And Oov actually not operating those barracks for a moment, actually, which is interesting. But I wonder if he's planning on expanding instead or something along those lines. But he built 2 barracks, but he wasn't using them for a moment, but it may have just been trying to save up the money to still producing SCVs as well. So that's another you know, signal that this isn't some kind of all-in attack or anything like that. It's just a kind of a normal build. But yeah, in 2021, 2 barracks might be a indication of cheese, but in this case it's not at all. JJu going ahead and building his lair with that first set of 100 gas at his natural expansion, just to get a few extra hit points on it. He may have been trying to hide the timing of it because the SCV was in the main or something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll see. In any case, and by the way, I did, like I said, I did do this entire cast before, so I kind of am gonna know what happened, just like for fair warning or whatever. I have seen this before, but it was also, you know, I think it was several days ago, so I don't remember exactly because I've been busy the last few days. I don't remember exactly what transpired, so I'll try not to you know, bias. If I do remember something that happened, I'll try not to be like, I'll bet he's about to, you know, attack this spot with exactly 4 Marines, and I'll bet the dropship's gonna get killed by Skirt. Like, and I don't think I'll remember that much detail anyway, but I'll try not to give it away, I suppose. In any case, Oov moving out here with 3 firebats and a medic. Actually, it's interesting. He sent actually the Marines out first. Often you see the Terran players will send out the Marine Force once they have a fire bat and a medic, or 2 medics to go along with it. But UZOO instead opting to send out the Marines early, start picking off those straggling Zerglings and kind of scouting the way, and his firebats and medics have kind of followed up with him. There's 2 sunken colonies. The third's going to complete. Looks like he's going to try and block the ramp there as well, in case of a run-by, basically. You know, a Nada-style run-by. It's nice to have that. Look, he's almost baiting him, actually. He's got the Zerglings on top of the ramp, saying, why don't you try and run up this ramp? I dare you. You're going to get slaughtered. And UZOO looks like he might not fall for it. That other colony at the top is morphing now as well. So, and look, this is back at his base. So it looks like he's not going all in on this. He's just expanding off of it. So pretty standard stuff here. He's actually taking some damage on these Marines as he targets down that colony, and he is actually able to get it killed off. But JJu able to cancel the sunken colony morph before that happened. He's actually going to put more colonies down here, but this time not so far away from his original colony, so that any Marines attacking it are within range. So now we've got this interesting moment where UZOO has put the pressure on. He's forced those sunken colonies. He's essentially killed some drones, in a sense, by making them turn into buildings. And but now he's got to retreat because the Spire has just finished morphing, and so now he's got to worry about defending his own base, because if he can't break those sunken colonies before the Mutalisks are out, then the Mutalisks are either going to, you know, kill him alongside the sunken colonies, or, you know, they're gonna be able to go and harass his own base. So UZOO has to be a little bit worried here. So he's brought his Marine Force back home in order to defend. Looks like his turrets are gonna be just maybe actually barely too late. The turret at the natural is gonna be up just in time, but the turret at the main is gonna be. No, it looks as if JJu actually has delayed his attack with the Mutalisks. I mean, he may have been waiting for more to rally together. Maybe he even didn't have enough minerals to morph all, you know, 6 Mutalisks as the Spire popped or something like that, because of building the sunken colonies. But now he has gathered up a group of, looks like 4 or 5 Mutalisks, perhaps even 6, and he's starting to be able to do some damage. And UZOO not protecting the back of his mineral line at his natural expansion there with any turrets. Well, I mean, obviously he was trying to build one then, but he's going to have to use the Marines to defend that turret while it's producing. But he's going to, oh, he's actually going to go in and pick off the SCV, producing it again. Very nicely done by JJu. Very good micro. And again, this is 2004, so this is like pre-Mutalisk clumping micro. So he's actually just doing a very good job of like keeping them grouped up together and firing as a unit, just as being a great Zerg player, rather than using any kind of trick to help him out with that. He's actually going to try and target down this turret, and is he repairing the turret? It's hard to see underneath, but he does get the turret. Second turret finishes right as the first one dies, so only a single turret fire going off on those Mutalisks for the entire duration, but it's enough to force him out of there. He's worried about those Marines coming up and reinforcing the turret, so he goes ahead and gets out of dodge. A Hydralisk Den is in play now as well. Probably working towards that lurker tech, but only 2 bases for JJu. Interestingly, he went for a 2-base Spire, but he's letting UZOO kind of macro up a lot is the thing. UZOO got his second base up and running. Now he still only has 2 barracks, but very soon we're going to see UZOO probably produce several more barracks and start to really pump out the units off of those 2 bases, and that's when JJu is going to be needing to be very worried. But JJu not really taking this time to get up a 3rd base somewhere on the map. His harassment has slowed down a little bit too, now that UZOO has plenty of turrets all over the place. And UZOO is just basically kind of being let to build up a force to go for a push here. I'm not sure if he's going to go for a push soon, or if he's going to wait for a Science Festival or something like that. However, this is occupying UZOO, keeping him at home a little bit with these Mutalisks. He's going to get that turret as well. But again, the turret's just kind of created to... Oh, did that Zergling just kill a Firebat? Nice. But this is all kind of buying time for the lurkers. So now the lurkers are out. So now JJu has the control. He's gonna be able to control enough space with the lurkers that he's gonna be able to kind of keep presence on the map enough that he can get some expansions. Ideally, I think that's probably what he's gonna go for. I don't think he's gonna go for a 2-base all-in, but who knows? I guess technically I kind of know, don't I? Because like I said, I've seen this game before, but I really wasn't actually I'm like defending my statements here. I wasn't saying that with knowledge of what happens. I was just kind of like thinking about the situation objectively, so don't read too much into it. Like I said, I have actually forgotten a lot of what happens in this game. There's the third base going up for JJu up in the top right here, and he's actually going for the third base on the high ground position of that area. He could have gone for the natural to try and secure a fourth base with some defenses, but instead he's going to go for that high ground, which I think makes sense in this situation. He's got to be a little bit tentative and just use his lurkers, and if you put a couple lurkers on the top of the ramp, then you're fine. And JJu continuing to harass in the main, but UZOO says, you know what, I'm sick of sitting around in my base. I'm going to move out, put some pressure back on you. I've got enough turrets and extra marines back at home. I can deal with this. And oh, is he going to try and... He's kind of moved towards the natural and then juked up to the top right. Those lurkers are going to plant down right in front of him, though, prevent him from going and attacking that top right base. He basically needs, you know, vessels and or tanks in order to deal with those lurkers now, and so that's why he's going to have a hard time actually pushing into that top right location for the moment. But he does have some tanks. We saw at least one earlier, or series, at least two earlier. If he gets vessels out, then he's going to be able to push. But no, JJu actually going to bring in a lot of Zerglings and those lurkers and move in and push those marines all the way back into UZOO's base. So UZOO kind of stuck back now, and JJu actually missing out on a little bit of a chance. Those tanks were not super defended up on the high ground there, so he had a chance to maybe go in there and pick one off. And if you can pick off those high-tech units, the gas-heavy units like the tanks and the vessels, it reduces the capability of the overall army of the Terran significantly. And so, you know, it's a way to delay, because as the Zerg's goal right now, JJu can't really just run in and kill UZOO, more than likely. So his goal has got to be to kind of delay a little bit to get his economy going, get his tech going further, maybe get a fourth base or something like that. So we'll see if that happens. But he is actually, it doesn't look like he's trying to get a fourth base at the moment. He is just trying to continue this harassment. There he finds the tanks vulnerable on the high ground, and oh, the Marines are actually going to swoop in from both sides on the high ground and the low ground and save that tank. Tank does not go down, at least not yet. And UZOO kind of sensing that vulnerability moves his tanks down to the low ground as well. But he also might be thinking about moving out for a push. JJu has a lot of lurkers though, and quite a number of lings. We saw the lings stringing around earlier. UZOO scans that third base on the side, which we can see only has a handful of drones. So he hasn't even gotten full saturation on that right side base yet. In fact, he could actually probably transfer a few drones from his natural. We just saw that, having a lot of drones there as well. So, but you know, that's maybe one of the reasons why JJu is not quite July Zerg level. You know, I remember seeing July Zerg in a... I think I saw a first-person view of one of his games from maybe it was a little bit later than this, maybe 2005 or 6 or something like that, where he was just being very specific about, you know, making sure he had exactly the right amount of drones at each base. I think that's how July Zerg plays, and so JJu, we'll see if he can pull off the same kind of efficiency of just getting exactly the right amount of drones that he needs for each base in order to get what he needs to produce, basically. In case JJu UZOO now moving out on the map with these tanks. He's kind of put himself in an awkward spot though. He's like, I'm just gonna siege up in this big open space where I don't have a choke point to work with at all. This is a perfect spot for JJu actually. If he wanted to go in onto that force and try and attack it, he could attack from multiple angles. Not sure if UZOO is posturing to try and control the middle area so he can take a third base at the south, or if he's actually, you know, taking that middle so he can start to push up and go for an attack instead. And it looks like he is pushing northwards with his bio army. Oh, his vessel leading the way, and you do not want the vessel leading the way when there's Scourge in play, and that's exactly why. And actually JJu coming in here with a large force. He's got actually a ton of lings and lurkers moving in. UZOO forced to fall back. He's actually going to be able to, and he's not even burrowing the lurkers. There's so many of them, he could just run right past the Marines. He's actually going to demolish the entire bioforce. The lurkers are on top of the tanks as well. JJu has absolutely slaughtered UZOO's force, but it looks like there's actually just too many tanks. I didn't realize he had like 10 tanks at the beginning of that. He's even got some more reinforcement tanks. Does he have 2 factories? He does have 2 factories with machine shops. So he's actually producing a lot of tanks here. You know, this is the era before the SK Terran style of just going, you know, all bio with science vessels was, you know, the thing to do. And so he's got a lot of tanks to deal with these lurkers, but geez, that is a lot of lurkers. He only lost a few of them and all the Zerglings, but he killed a ton of Bioforce. And now UZOO is, you know, forced to kind of stay back a little bit. But look at this. He actually, let's see, he had 6 tanks before. He's got 2 more, and he's got 2 more coming in a moment. And with 5 barracks pumping out units, he's actually been able to produce another Bioforce very quickly. So he's actually back out on the map already, despite losing all that. Of course, JJu didn't lose a ton himself, so he can still try and combat that army, especially if it's out in the open like it is. JJu finally taking that 4th base, but UZOO now taking a 3rd at the same time. It looks like he's actually gone up to, was that 6 or even 8 barracks? I didn't see exactly how many that was, but he has produced additional barracks, so he's going to be producing lots of bio units here. So this is where UZOO can shine. This is where, oh, and actually, JJu donating some overlords to the cause, just flying them out there. So we saw Queen's Nest earlier. JJu, okay, there's actually some defilers in play. I was just gonna say, like, I wonder if he's near to the hive tech, and he does have hive tech out, and that could be exactly what he needs, because UZOO is now pushing out into the middle of the map even further. Ultralisk Cavern is just completed as well. So this is perfect timing actually for JJu to get out these higher tech units in order to be able to deal with this large push that's moving out for UZOO. He's got a lot of tanks though, so the Darkstorm isn't going to be quite as effective as it could be. Here he comes in, a Darkstorm goes down, 2 Darkstorms go down right on top of the bio units, but UZOO is going to definitely step right back out of it. Another Darkstorm goes down, enabling those lurkers to get in right on top of the front line of tanks, but there's so many lines of tanks behind it that it doesn't actually matter excessively. UZOO just kind of able to waddle backwards with that force and just get out of range of the swarms, and he had irradiated one of the defilers. I think maybe tanks killed another defiler if it was in there. So JJu doesn't have the spells in the bank to continue pushing forward, right? Ideally, you want to just keep swarming forward. That is so many fire bats. That is, it looks like he just produced 2 rounds of fire bats from every single barracks. He's gonna join in with so many fire bats to deal with this. I mean, obviously they're gonna be able to do full damage on a Dark Swarm. Oh no, he needs to pull back his vessels. Oh, barely saves that vessel. Okay, so now we're seeing more Dark Swarms being pushed forward. Finally, another round of Defilers has come out, so he was able to push those Dark Swarms a little bit forward. But it doesn't really matter. The map is so open in the middle that UZOO can kind of just dodge around those swarms in the middle and also move up to the top right with another force to kill off this 4th base, and it's going to go down very quickly before it could even really get started. And so, you know, the open space of the middle of the map, which was a vulnerability for UZOO in the mid-game, hold that thought. He's moving in with a lot of Lings and Lurkers here. Another swarm goes down. Nice. The swarm goes down right on top of that, but there's so many fire bats that can just ignore the Dark Swarm altogether and absolutely just have a barbecue roasting the Lurkers. The Lurkers do a significant amount of damage to the stimmed firebats without very many medics amongst them, so the Lurkers actually taking out the firebats before the firebats can take them out completely. Some Zerglings swarming in there, and it looks like he's taking out a lot of units. If he can move those Lurkers into that second swarm on top of the tanks, but it's too late. The tanks have already unsieged and fallen back to another tank line, so UZOO is going to go ahead and salvage those units, but he's continuing to produce so many firebats and Marines, very few medics in fact. But what I was saying earlier is that the open middle territory, which would be a vulnerability, which would get you flanked in the mid game by the Zerg player, ends up being a good place to be in the late game, because when you need to dodge Dark Swarms, you need space to go to, and so you know, it's a really great tactic to be able to just kind of dodge around left and right, and if there's nowhere that they can pin you down where you have to stay under the Dark Swarm, then you can just, you know, can infinitely dodge basically as if you're as pro as UZOO obviously, and you can keep track of your units that well. So UZOO just kind of controlling this middle space, and now JJu and UZOO has been able to take that 3rd base. It's got it up and running. He's taking a 4th base as well. JJu might do well. This map is open enough that JJu could run by and attack different locations. It looks like that's what he might be doing here. He's actually trying to attack the natural though instead of the 3rd and the 4th base, and the natural is very well defended because that's where his rallies of tons of fire bats are in play. So nothing really happens there. But now a lot of Ultralists coming in here as well. There's a few mines in play. Oof switching over to some Vultures, but Ultralists soaking up the mine damage as they come in further and further here. It looks like I think there was a Defiler there, but it may have gotten killed off before it could cast the spell actually. And Oof, bringing his main force from the middle back down to his natural to defend, is going to successfully take out this attack. All of the Ultras are dead. Most of the Lurkers are dead as well. And very little damage done by JJu there, and a lot of damage taken by him instead in losses of forces. That was just, that was 5,000 or 6,000 resources that just died, and I don't think he really took out nearly. He may have taken out 1,000 resources worth of units of Oovs, and Oovs now back to the middle with that unit, with that force, rallying that stuff to the middle of the map again, just kind of take control of the middle. But again, I don't know if the middle is necessarily the best. If JJu can take advantage of the wraparound potential of this map. Here he does have some Ultras and some Lings, and they've completely, like I said, wrapped around the middle of the map, and they're going down towards the south expansions now. Oof pushing into the natural though, and there's Ultralisks there, but there's no swarm on top of the Ultras, so the Ultras are going to die to the concentrated fire of those Marines. Meanwhile, the Ultras are forcing a lift on that bottom middle expansion, and they're just rerouting directly to the bottom right expansion as well. So this is actually really good. If JJu can stop them mining at those extra bases. Oof is mined out in his main by now, I'm sure, and we just saw that JJu's actually mined out his expansion, his natural expansion. So JJu in a little bit of trouble himself, because he's just getting that fourth base up and running again. So he's really only mining 1 or 2 bases right now. So, you know, you can either get more bases yourself, or you can stop your opponent from mining more bases as well. And you just need to make sure you're not falling behind in economy, otherwise you're going to fall behind in the unit game as well. And he needs to do one or the other. He needs to get his expansions up and running, or he needs to shut down Oovs. He has shut down Oovs temporarily, but it looks like Oov has directed his entire force down to the bottom right to kind of secure those expansions while attacking with a group of Marines, not even any medics or firebats, attacking with just only Marines into the top right-hand area. And it's a little bit of a missed opportunity then, because it's only Marines, there was a chance for one swarm and a couple Ultras or some Lings to be able to take out those forces. Or actually, it doesn't even need swarm. Look at this, just a few Ultras and Lings running in there are able to take out the force, but he doesn't take it out until that fourth base is already dead. So missing out on an opportunity to kind of get back ahead in the game right now. Oof has re-landed those bottom expansions as well, so he's mining currently. JJu really needs to do something about that, or again, force enough pressure to take his other bases. Oof actually being forced back into his natural expansion here. Look at this, JJu swarming all the way into the choke point. He's got his units in the neck there, but will he actually choke out Oof by clogging up that area? Can he actually do the damage? It looks like he needed one more swarm to push forward far enough that he could get those Ultras on top of the command center, or, you know, damaging the SCVs and more. And he does get some Zerglings in there, but the swarm not being there is not, yeah, it's just a little bit too little too late. Not able to actually accomplish much damage there, but Oof was able to fall back just far enough that he couldn't quite actually do any significant damage to the economy there. But by forcing him to fall back to the natural, he's left the middle open, and these tanks are wide open for an attack. He's actually going to lose a few tanks, just a handful of Lings and a couple Ultras. So nicely done there, JJu, by kind of keeping Oof a little bit off balance, attacking the bottom right, attacking the bottom left, attacking the middle, and trying to be in different places different times. And actually just a couple cracklings down here in the bottom middle, taking out SCVs is a really good tactic as well. If you can accomplish, cracklings are so efficient. That was 50 minerals to buy those 2 Lings, and he's able to do so much damage. Oof now though is pushing this giant force that he was kind of posturing with in the middle and building up into the natural expansion. He's going for the throat, ladies and gentlemen, trying to get the kill right here and now. Not going to go for the economic win by destroying the expansions at the top right. He's done that enough already. He's taken them out 2 or 3 times, and he's feeling like, I've got enough of a force here, I can just go straight for the kill. And it looks like he's going to accomplish it right now. I don't know what JJu can pull off at this point, but he might, if he can get some Dark Storms in there. He's a little bit light on the Firebats. Maybe some Dark Storms with some units would be able to do it with some Ultras under the Dark Storms, but no, the Ultras coming from the left side. A nice defense matrix on the front tank that was being attacked is going to salvage that as well. And now Oof pushing into the actual expansion is threatening the hive and threatening basically, and there's the GG from JJu. Coming out, UZOO taking the win with some brilliant macro, some well-positioned units as well. JJu just not quite able to deal with the force of UZOO. And remember, this is a best of 5 actually, so there's going to be another game, so that's why you see him just kind of processing and looking forward to the next battle. But I feel like JJu, you know, missed out on some opportunities here and there to take the advantages that he had. But, you know, basically the game plan for the Zerg has to be distract and expand, right? And he did one or the other, but not both. He was never able to protect his expansions with enough distraction. He was never able to utilize the distractions that he accomplished to maybe this was a best of 3. Did UZOO actually just win? Did he just win outright? Or is he just taking a break before the last game? I thought it was best of 5. Maybe it's a best of 3. But in any case, I think it's a best of 5 because it is a semifinals. Either way, though, JJu just not quite able to deal with the actual monster that is UZOO in his Terran versus Zerg play. UZOO playing a very incredible game, taking the win. Hope you guys enjoyed it. GG, thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.